Yogi. Welcome to another episode of our Lights On podcast. I'm Kat. I'm your host. Sorry if my voice is a little bit weird today. It's because I've got a bit of a cold going on. So yeah, hopefully that won't be too annoying for you. But thank you so much for tuning in, for listening. Today's episode, I'm super looking forward to it. I feel like I say this every time, but it's because I am looking forward to it every time. And it's all about healing through sound. As you know, we've been on a journey to expand on this podcast a little bit, in the sense that we're going a little bit beyond just yoga philosophy to really embrace other practices, other holistic ways of well-being, to hopefully show you how much you have available to you when it comes to your healing process. We know that this is not a linear journey, and sometimes yoga may be the right tool for you, but maybe sometimes you do benefit from other things. So I really wanted to bring in some other of my friends, guests, people that I connect with on Instagram or just social media in general. And I really wanted to sort of highlight their brilliant work and how they can also help you heal, transcend, really overcome your trauma and make sure that you are going back to who you are inside. So today I'm joined by Tillie. She's the founder of TheWellProject, which is very much Tillie's passion to sort of communicate and share her love for sound healing therapy. She works on, she does several events online and retreats, workshops. I meant online and in person in Essex and London. And it's a really beautiful experience because it's all about how you can use sound to sleep better, to release anxiety, and work through a number of mental health, physical health, emotional health struggles that you may be going through. So I actually got in touch with Tillie because I wanted to have some of her beautiful sound healing journeys on my library, the library that I offer as part of my membership. And so we just connected, and sound baths and sound healing journeys are really something that I connect with. They are some of my favorite ways to relax and unwind after a day at work. So I really wanted to be able to share this with my members. So we ended up chatting, and we agreed on 5 beautiful sound healing journeys, which are now live on the library, again on a variation of topics, from sleep to anxiety to chakra rebalance to, just a simple energy reset. I'm super excited, about them. So anyway, I really wanted to get to know Tillie on a more personal level, so I invited her to do this podcast and to have this super informal conversation about healing through sound. So in this podcast, we'll be talking about the power of sound. We'll be talking about Tillie's personal journey and how she supports people through the Well Project and through sound healing therapy. Without any further ado, here's what Tillie and I talked about. Hi, Tillie. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for our conversation today. I'm a big fan of sound healing. So I am super excited to learn a little bit more about it, and also just see how you how you found it, and sort of how you've been using it for your own wellness journey, and then how you sort of started making this very much like a mission, or perhaps a passion project where you sort of offer it now to others. So thank you for being here. If you could just tell us a little bit more about yourself, about what you do, as sort of an introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I just mentioned to you, it's my first podcast, so I'm super, super excited.
Thank you for being here.
I think kind of we all have sometimes a feeling of like imposter syndrome creeping in, where we feel like we don't have all of the answers, but which is the truth. In fact, we don't have all of the answers. I just think if you're actually doing the work, if you're doing it from the right place and you have the right intention, that's all we can do. So I'm super happy to be here to kind of spread the word about sound healing. And
I'm just super happy to have you. And I think that's such like a beautiful way to start this conversation, because we talk a lot about healing and here overall in this podcast. And I think sometimes we try to rush a bit through it and just, get things done and find all the answers, get this clear path. And actually that's not how the journey goes. And I think it's important to obviously be humble, but also understand that we're never going to be ready. And I'm so grateful that you are sort of being brave and doing this with me, because I think this is going to be a super exciting conversation. And I know that those of you that tune in will absolutely love the insights that you've got to share. So
amazing. That's been, it's funny that that's come up actually. I will get to introducing myself in a moment, but
don't worry.
This whole thing about, it's been very much highlighted for me recently about us all having to like keep doing and going a million miles an hour. So very much for me, it's actually just being able to stop and be in the present. So that's a big part of the work that I'm doing. But anyway, so I'm Tillie. I'm the founder of TheWellProject. The word project was quite big for me at the time when choosing the name of the brand, because I truly believe that we're all on some kind of really path of growth and development, and that's all we can do. So it doesn't matter what the destination is or how the journey looks, so long as our intention is to keep growing and learn and just being authentic, really. Yeah. So I am a sound therapy practitioner, a meditation teacher. I'm a retreat host. I'm also doing some training in psychodynamic counselling. So lots going on at the moment, but pretty much just an all-round wellbeing advocate. So I didn't follow like the traditional musical path into sound healing. As a child, I very much enjoyed singing and dancing, but I'm sure if you asked any of my family members, it was definitely coming from a place of joy rather than talent. But I think actually not having so much of a musical background, it has helped me in the work that I'm doing at the moment. There's sound healers that have had musical training and it works very well for them. And I know there's certain notes and sounds that kind of work really beautifully with one another. But when I'm working with someone and I'm working with the healing instruments, it means I'm really working off of like the energy that's being cultivated between the two of us, and I work off how I'm feeling. So I try to think of it as a benefit rather than a barrier of any sort. So how I got here is quite a long story with lots of different moving parts, but I think it started for me when I was about 14, 15. I suffered with quite a lot of physical pains in my legs after lots of like doctor's visits and lots of scans and things. It was basically a result of me having super tight hamstrings, but also I have scoliosis of the spine, so two curvatures in the spine. The doctor off of the back of that recommended that I start to go to yoga classes. That's where I was kind of introduced to this whole new world. Yeah, for me, it also, the core was my yoga practice, and it still is today. So like finding my first yoga teacher, going to lots of meditation classes, and I was just opened up to this whole new way of like thinking and being. I've been practicing yoga ever since, and it's through the different kind of meditation retreats and these deep listening meditations that I was taking part in. It was just the power of sound and even silence. It just felt so profound to me. I then discovered going to sound baths, and it was all part of this kind of process and practice that I was going through. And I would just take myself off to the park. And I mean, we've got a puppy now, but I didn't at the time. So I'd just go on for these really long walks and just tuning into the different sounds of nature and the birds and the wind. And it was in those moments that I'd never felt as so much peace than I'd felt before. So there was really something in that for me. So sound's been very much a part of my world for a long time. And I'm sure lots of people can relate to that because, I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later, but we can all connect to sound on some kind of level.
And music is such an integral part, or it's such a big part for us, right? For everything that we do, even that concept of having like a soundtrack for our life, or at least I'm someone that really relies on music, whether that's to get me through my highs and lows, whether that's through helping me focus, or and it doesn't have to be like any particular or specific genre of music. It's just sound. It's just having that vibration in the background.
It really does kind of impact all areas of our lives, and like you said, it can shift our mood, it can set the tone for a class. There's so many kind of soundscapes and moods and environments you can build just simply using sound or even silence. So it's a very powerful modality.
Absolutely. I remember like being like a new yoga teacher back in 2017 when I started teaching, and I remember obviously I was terrified of the whole thing, as you would be. But I remember that one thing I was very stuck on was like finding the perfect music for my classes. I literally spent hours and hours on Spotify like curating like this perfect sequence of like music to complement my yoga classes. And I think that's a good example of like how important it is and how healing it can be, sound, vibration, because we are made of sound and vibration at the end of the day. So obviously it will have an impact.
No, absolutely. I mean, with our kind of live in-person events, the majority of the work is actually using the sound instruments, but I use sound to open the space. Like we play a mantra and we always finish with a particular piece of music, and it's just that whole journey of taking the journey that you want to take people on. So I love it.
I'm glad.
It was the transition for me when kind of I was using sound for me, and then it was the decision that I actually wanted to start to use it to help other people. So I worked in the finance industry from the age of 18 or so. Really loved it at the time, put all of my time and effort and quickly worked my way up. But I think it was around the time of COVID, there was just some kind of feeling of like dissatisfaction. My perspective around the whole thing changed. I really wanted to feel like the work I was doing had a purpose. So it was through one of my sports massage ladies, actually. She introduced me. I know, it's like when I said there's lots of different working parts, it's like all of these things I'm remembering are just, they've all led me to this kind of place, and it's really funny looking back and the journey that I've been on. So as my sports massage lady introduced me to a Reiki master, and she was like, this lady, she's a spiritual guru. She doesn't have a TV. You have to go and see her. So I booked in. Her name's Celia. She's a wonderful lady. And she said, we'll have like the hour of Reiki, but we need 2 hours. We're going to sit down and have a talk. And that was a really uncomfortable concept for me. I wasn't kind of good with talking to people or opening up.
I know what you're talking about, because the first time I did a Reiki session as well, I was like, okay, so when do we get to the healing part? Because this conversation bit, this briefing part, it's totally not what I was expecting, and I'm not here to be cancelled. I'm here to just like lie down and get myself sorted. But then obviously like the conversation was the most useful part of the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after a few sessions, I found the talking part of the session so beneficial. She became like a spiritual guide for me. She was able to change my mindset about lots of different things, whether it was like money, how I viewed success. and it was like the kind of rebirth for me. So I was like reading lots of self-help books, taking lots of courses, and then that's when I just had that kind of click that I wanted to train in sound therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I wanted to share with everybody. So it's been a journey of kind of evolving and growing ever
Mm-hmm.
since. But yeah, I think over the last 2-3 years in person, I've worked with over 1,000 people. So
That's
that's
incredible.
1,000 people that we've shared the magic with. And yeah, I'm here to tell the tale still, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible, and I just think it's just so beautiful how you say like there's so many chapters to your story almost, but everything
Mm,
or lots of different pieces, and then everything just sort of like comes together for like one beautiful puzzle at the end, and I think that's just so inspirational. And also how sometimes we start, or sometimes actually not sometimes, all the time, we start things for our personal benefit. And that's when we realize, oh, okay, there's something to it. And we end up finding our passions, and then we end up using it as very much our mission, our purpose. And I think that's so beautiful that we get to do it,
yeah.
and that we're brave enough to do it as well, because I'm sure that lots of us, we have these things that we love, but then we actually never get to actually do them, or because we think that as we we started today talking about imposter syndrome, because we think that we're not good enough, or
Mm,
we don't have all the tools. But just pushing through it, it's such a beautiful thing. And I think hopefully we're good examples of when you do follow your passions, then good things come to you. So
yeah,
I
and I
wanted
think,
to. Mhm,
just quickly on that point, I think
of course.
when we kind of go online and we see all of these um, people on social media that we really put on a pedestal, and they just seem like they're so far away. You're like, oh, they've lived this like spiritual life, and I just feel so far out of reach. Um, that's not the case at all. It's actually
Mm-hmm.
realizing that all of this, it is possible,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's so within your reach. It's just the you just need to kind of like review your core values, like what really what's important to you, and
Mm-hmm.
also just making sure that you have a purpose. It's so important in life just to know what you want to kind of give back to the world, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be life changing. It just has to be
Mm-hmm.
that small gesture. And yeah.
That's such an important and beautiful point, because, yeah, you're quite right. As we sort of get into this healing world, or even when we try and search for like ways maybe to have more financial freedom, or maybe we want to leave the 9 to 5 behind, and then suddenly you're following all these people, and they go on with their talks about, oh, how to turn your business into like a 6-figure business. And I'm thinking, great,
Mm,
I'd love that. But it just for me, before especially, it was always so frustrating, because I was like, how the hell am I going to get myself onto this thing? Like, how do I out of nowhere get to this six
yeah.
figures or whatever? It was just so frustrating. And I think obviously people want to show the bright side of things, and they want to show success, but I think it's also very important for us to be real about our journeys and how long they've been. We're talking, in your case, in my case, like through 2, 3 years, 4 years, discounting all the years before where we were struggling and trying to very much find for our purpose without, getting to anywhere. And I really relate to your career as well, because I was also part of the corporate world. I started very much, well, I studied business management, so I was very keen on doing like the whole sort of financial consultancy route. And then by the end of the course, I was like, no, this is not for me. But then I was like, okay, so what is for me? Like, what
Yeah.
am I going to do?
And I
Then,
think it's very much like how we perceive success, because
mm-hmm,
I think society has kind of made us believe that it's financial gain and assets. But
mm-hmm,
for me, recently, my success and my wealth has been through experiences and connecting with
mm-hmm,
people, and these like micro moments of just
absolutely.
like pure bliss. And like,
Yeah.
you can be the richest person in the world and have £0 in the bank. So yeah, so I
Mm-hmm.
know we have to make money to live and eat and
Yeah.
survive and all this stuff that goes along with it. But yeah, it's just, I think if you can uh, change your
Yeah. You're
mindset
so
a
right.
little bit.
You're so right. For me, it's I feel I didn't feel successful for a very long time. I actually felt like a failure. And then it got to a point where, hold on, but what kind of definition of success am I holding myself? And I realized that for me, being successful, and I am extremely successful right now, is because I'm able to follow my purpose. I mean, how many people can actually say that they are fully leaning into their passion and fully fulfilling their purpose in life? Not many. And that's success, staying true to myself, being able to stay authentic despite everything going against me, going against us. I think that's a beautiful thing. Absolutely. I think that shift in mindset is so important. And I think you don't need a lot, but you do need to, as you say, try to understand your purpose and then just take small baby steps. I think sometimes we forget that, we don't have to do this grandiose thing at all. It's just finding those little moments, those little steps.
It's a long, never-ending journey, and you'll never get that. I mean, I've been working on it for the last 15 years or so, and I've got plenty of work to do. So.
Yeah, same. Same with yoga. I feel very much like a beginner, and the more I practice, the more of a beginner I feel. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be a long one. Anyway, digressing, although I feel like we could talk about this for ages. Maybe that's the topic for another conversation.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about sound healing as a technique or as a practice, as a healing alternative. How or why does sound help? Because we kind of mentioned that, we're all made of vibrations and sound, but I would like to get a little bit more into that and discuss here a little bit about how sound healing works and the benefits of sound healing.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason I love to work with sound is because the simple fact that it doesn't discriminate, and how can it discriminate when we are made of sound? I mentioned that we can kind of all relate to sound on some kind of level. And I think the easiest example of that I can give is like a song that might take you back to a past memory or like a childhood memory, or like having that music that just instantly changes your mood. You can have a really uplifting song. You can have the like Jaws theme tune that kind of brings about that. It can even induce fear into us. So it has such an impact on the way we are, the way that we feel. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the videos where sometimes people work with sand, sometimes they work with water, and they fill like a metal singing bowl up with water, and then they like play around the bowl and you see all the formations in the water. And
this was part of our yoga course actually, when we were talking about like the chanting and the mantra part, and just how beautiful, how different it is in the impact we don't realize of words, of sound. Sorry, go on.
No, that's the thing, because it's not visual to us, it's a feeling. So you have to be able to tap into that, and kind of like turn down all of the external noise. There's actually my client showed me this the other day, after a session we had together. There's a Japanese scientist who, during his research, he played different types of music and frequencies to water, and then he would freeze the water and put it under a microscope, and he took photographic images of all the different particles. When it was played like a Beethoven symphony or a healing piece of music, they would have these like beautiful formations of the icicles. But if it was played like really heavy rock music, or he even taped some like hateful words around the water, and it was all distorted, and it looks like just a complete mess under the microscope. And when you think we're mostly made up of water, we're over 50% of water, so all of this is happening to us, and that's not just during a sound healing session, a sound therapy session. It's
all the time.
It's all the time. It's the environment that you're in, it's how you speak to yourself, it's the type of music, movies that you listen to. So like this is all going on.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I feel like sometimes when we embark on this healing journey, And we kind of feel like we need to subscribe to like a certain way of being, right? When you start diving a bit more into spirituality, there's always like these sort of perceived standards. But the fact is, it's super important what you expose yourself to, and we don't realize that. And actually, even today, I wrote a post, and I posted a post about like stop watching the news, because when we're constantly overstimulated like that, when we're constantly subject to a lot of negativity, like it does have an impact, and it does matter the type of music you listen to. It matters the type of films, of series that you watch. Everything has an impact. When you're scrolling through your timeline on Instagram and social media, I'm not saying you should stop necessarily doing that, but do be careful with the type of content that you subject yourself to. And I think it's super important that we do curate these more and more if we do want to reach to that place of peace, because everything, absolutely everything, has an impact. And it's so important that we realize that.
So I'm not sure how I came across this fact. I must have heard it or read about it, and I'm not sure how much truth there is in it, but apparently with the access that we have to all the different like media types, in one day, we receive a lifetime worth of trauma if we was to go back 50 years.
That's crazy. I wouldn't be surprised.
No, and you think like we're taking all of this in all of the time. But the important thing is like, and I definitely done this as well. So like we will go to a sound bath, we will go to a yoga class as like a treatment to try and reverse like a day of upset that we've had, or if we've had a really stressful week, we think we're gonna go to a sound bath and it's gonna like we're gonna feel so much better afterwards, which we do for a bit, but the important thing that we need to do is like understand it's what we're exposing ourselves to every day. So try and get out in nature as much as you possibly can, or try to listen to the birds, or just try to be in silence for a moment and just sit and be with yourself. And
being aware of what you watch and what you do, not in an obsessive way at all, but also understanding that you are made of everything, you are connected with everything. So it's important. I hope that we're able to sort of love ourselves enough to only be exposed to things that are deserving of us, if that makes sense. And definitely a big priority for me as well when I teach yoga, because I completely agree with you. We obviously go to a sound bath, we go to a yoga class, and short term we feel great. I mean, lovely. I feel so relaxed. 5 minutes later, if that, you meet a person or somebody calls you, you receive an email, and then all the work completely down the drain. Like it's almost like a switch. I remember when I used to go to my yoga classes, and then my parents would pick me up, and I would just ask for them to be in silence, just so that I could, make the session last a little bit longer beyond the mat. But this to say that, a big priority for me is giving people the tools to protect yourselves, because obviously, there's only so much that we can control. I think it's important to say that, and it's important that we learn how to regulate ourselves. But a part of it is also trying to stop the amount of stimuli that we get on a daily basis. And as you say, this incredible amount of trauma that we get, or we're given every day. I mean, no wonder we're all traumatized, and no wonder we all live in like permanent survival mode. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just being more mindful with what you're consuming. But and like you said, we can't just switch ourselves off to the world sometimes, but if we are feeling particularly stressed one day, or our anxiety levels are feeling heightened, you can start to connect the dots, and you're like, this happened during my day, this hasn't come from nowhere. Every kind of action and decision we make does in effect have a consequence attached to it, but so long as we're aware of that and mindful of that, we can start to make those small, really baby step changes.
And also use the tools at our disposal, like sound baths, like yoga classes.
So you mentioned kind of like regulating the body, and that's one of the huge benefits of sound healing. So not only kind of regulating the heart rate, It's really great for reducing blood pressure as well. It's great for calming the nervous system and improving sleep cycle. So there's lots of good stuff that can go on physically. And I like to kind of research, and I kind of dive into the scientific stuff here and there. But for me, it's all about like the feeling and the magic that sound healing can bring. You attend a sound bath, and if you get to that sweet spot, like an alternative state of consciousness, it's just a feeling of complete solace.
Freedom.
It's like freedom. There's like, it's that time where, you know, no one needs your attention, your time. You're just so deeply connected to yourself.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's just being with yourself finally, with no interruptions, with no other people, with no deadlines, no nothing, just you.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like, it's so great for deepening our connection, not only to ourselves, because it does, like, it's just a way of like heightening so much self-awareness, like what's going on, why do I feel like that, what's this particular note making me feel like, it's all these like questions that can start to spark. And you just you get to know yourself on such a deeper level. But it's open to everyone. If you, no matter kind of, I always say, no matter where you are on your spiritual journey, everyone can relate, come and enjoy a sound bath, because even if it's just that time for physical rest that you need, that time away from the kids or like away from any housework, it's that time you can physically schedule into the diary. You can come and just have an hour or 90 minutes to yourself, and just tap into that kind of deep inner peace that we all have inside of us. It's just all of like these layers that kind of keep getting added on top with all of this like chaos that we surround ourselves with. So it's just like gently and slowly unpeeling the layers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such an important part of the process as well, because when you embark on this, or you realize that you want to embark on this healing journey, that really the first step is for you to find rest. Because if you're not rested, or if you don't have a way to rest, a way that works for you, whether that's yoga, whether that's a sound bath, whether that's both, because for me it's very much both, you won't be able to progress much further, because you're constantly inundated by just everything happening in your life. So you really need that pause, and whether, again, that's through sound or however it is for you, but it's important that we do learn how to rest. And then once we are able to rest and relax, then we can start unveiling ourselves and start that process of discovery, which you embark on a yoga class, you embark on, when the sound bath hits you really, really well. And it's just a lovely experience. But yeah, I think it's very important to have those tools to really at least teach you how to rest, because we talk about rest and relaxation. Actually, I don't think the majority of us actually know how to do that. We may think that we are resting. I don't think we are.
No,
Really.
I think for me, rest and sleep is priority. In the sound bath, I mean, some people call it sound healing. I don't view myself as a healer as such. For me, I'm creating the space and the environment for people to go on their own journeys, and it's all about just creating a space for that time of really deep rest and rejuvenation. So some people, I always say as well, some people come and they've had such a kind of heavy day, and I say, you know what, if you need to fall off into sleep, then you need that. Listen to your body. Like, sleep is priority, but when you come back, you'll find that your sleep cycle of an evening when you go to bed, that starts to naturally improve. And then during the sound bath, you find that you don't need to sleep as much, and then you're kind of in this middle state, this like sweet spot, that you always, when people find it, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what you've been talking about all this time. Yeah,
exactly, this is it. Absolutely. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, the holding space and just creating that space within us and within others, because Yeah, I like to say as well that, I'm not a yoga master or like a yoga teacher, but I like to help others find, their own inner masters and their own yoga teachers. And I think that's so important. Pretty much similar to your objective and your mission as well. So I like how we're so aligned in
Yeah,
that
I love
regard.
that. Yeah,
But
creating like the your own yogi master inside of
yeah,
you, but then they'll go on to spread the word and
exactly.
teach more, and like the more in this community that we can build and share. And
Absolutely, because and as you said as well, like it's not about the journey that we put them on; it's about the journey that they take themselves on. There's only so much. There's only I will only reach to a certain point, right, through the tools that we share, and then it's up to people to take what resonates and then flourish from there. And I think that's a beautiful thing that you empower people to sort of heal. And I think it's something I'm so grateful for. I'm so grateful to be, a chosen one, if you will, of just being able to sort of hold the space for people, and have been given sort of the tools to empower others to do that. But yeah, I think I had something else to comment on what you said, but now I lost myself, so I don't know. It may just come back to me, but
it might pop
I
up.
just wanted to say that it was just beautiful. Like it resonated, it hit deep inside. And yeah, well, a part of and this is not really connected to sound healing, but we do. I'm not sure if you've experienced yoga nidra before, which is the yoga of sleep.
Yes.
Which is a beautiful thing as well, very relaxing. And it is a bit like what you said in terms of like, if you're really tired, you'll probably fall asleep, and that's fine if you do fall asleep. But then I kind of want you to take you to that special place where you're in between it, the two worlds, the two dimensions. And when you're there, it's just, I don't know, it's eternity for me. Whether that's, yoga nidra or a sound bath is just a beautiful space to exist in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for anyone listening who's kind of thinking, well, how do I know when I'm there? It's like this, it can be reflected in so many different ways. And sometimes we can even actually experience it during the middle of our day. It could be through like whether you have visualizations or if you're seeing colors and things, or if you're having bodily sensations, you could have a change in temperature, or you can feel really heaviness or tinglings of the hands. I like to think of that as you're receiving a healing. Some people, without even realizing, you can see like the toes and the feet really twitching to certain instruments or certain sounds, and that's when you can tell that something's really being released without them even knowing it. Or that, do you ever get that feeling where you're like, you could be driving or like going for a walk and you've just kind of gone off into this deep place and you think, oh god, where was I for the last like 5-10 minutes?
Yeah,
That's the
that's
state. It's
it.
like that's it. It's like you've reached this place so deep in like your subconscious that you
Your
don't even
existence.
know. Yeah, you're just there.
Yeah, you
And
just are.
so yeah, if
I think
anyone
that's
is
a good point.
wondering
Yeah.
what that feels like, and it's not scary, and
Mm-mm.
it's all completely normal, and even if you don't have those experiences, you can still very much be in that place. Yeah, it's really interesting to see what clients share with me after sessions, and
Yeah,
yeah,
where they've been. I think for me, it's like I notice when it's almost like that you're there when you no longer feel the need to know you're there, if that makes sense. Because you just know you're
yeah,
there, you exist, and you're not thinking, you're just existing.
that's it. And
Um,
I always say to people, just, it's really difficult if you've like been to a sound bath and or like a yoga nidra session and you've had like a really beautiful experience, and you come like this the time after or the second time and it's not quite the same. I'm like, I always tell people, please just drop any expectations,
mhm,
because you really need to trust the process. Like everything that's
mhm.
happening is happening for a reason.
Yeah.
There's always a lesson to be learned, no matter like what place you got to or what feelings you experienced, there's always like questions that you can ask yourself off the back of it, and it's that whole journey of just getting to know yourself a little bit better.
And that's how you heal. And I think, yeah, it's just trusting that whatever it is that you need in terms of healing will find you, whether that's you going into this state in between sort of two worlds, or whether that's maybe you sleeping through the session, or maybe it's you feeling very uncomfortable through the entire session.
Yeah.
Those
And
are all ways to heal.
there are particular notes when like played together, they do create that kind of awkward feeling or that disturbance, and that it's there for a reason, because sometimes we need to shake things up and just highlight areas that in our lives that we might not be so comfortable with, because we need to be aware and acknowledge those so we can make the changes to better serve ourselves. So
Exactly.
every sound and every disturbance has its purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that leads us beautifully into my next question, which is, what would you say was your biggest breakthrough when it comes to your personal journey with sound healing, whether that's, your personal experience or your business? What would you say was your biggest breakthrough?
I think for me personally, it's been a really gradual journey. I've just been building so much kind of like inner wisdom and knowledge, and through like working with the sound, still attending sound baths as well, through my yoga practice. I've just built up such a mind and body awareness. And just being able to really listen to what my body and mind is trying to communicate with me. That's why I would say to people that if you are going to a sound bath or you're listening to like an online soundscape for the first time, don't put so much pressure on expecting this miraculous breakthrough the first time. Like with everything in life, it is a practice. So just like really trying to let go of any expectations, and you'll find that the more that you come back to the practice, the easier it becomes, the more enjoyable it becomes. You get to that sweet spot. Maybe you have more time in that sweet space. You achieve getting there slightly quicker each time. So I'd say for the first time, if it wasn't exactly what you was expecting, don't let it put you off. You'll definitely have those small breakthrough moments and really hold on to those. But more will come, and they'll happen more often. And all of this good stuff will start to like seep out into the rest of your life in different areas. But
I think that's such a good point, because if imagine that something really dramatic happened at once, and you had this huge breakthrough suddenly. I mean, how hard would that be for you to deal with that? So it's a lot better that we are sort of
well,
pushed
that's it. Or we
towards
just think,
healing
I'm
slowly.
I'm healed. I don't have to do anything else.
Gradually, it's a lot better than you just being like kind of like shocked with it, and just hit with it, and you're like, oh, what do I do with it now? So it's a lot better, if things don't work so well the first time, it's because you're supposed to be eased into it gently.
Yeah,
Gradually.
absolutely. And you will definitely have those breakthroughs. And when I think of breakthroughs, it takes me straight to a few clients that I have in mind. And it was definitely after a few sessions of working with each other. One client, for example, when she came to me, because of lots of things that had gone on in her life and lots of trauma that she'd experienced, she was really suffering with social anxiety. She came to me and she was so timid and scared, and we worked very slowly and mindfully, and after about 4 or 5 sessions together, I remember her walking into one of my group sessions, and she had like the biggest smile on her face. She like came in with her like all of her kit under her arms and just sort of like marched into the room, and set herself up her bed, like with, you could tell she was just like, thank you. And like the responses that you get from people were, they just touch you
Mm-hmm.
deeply.
Yeah, that's so true. I think, when I go through the hard days and like things are not going so well, or I don't know, something happened and I'm really not motivated, what always brings me back is when I think of, the relieved smile my students have on their faces at the end of the class. And I'm like, yeah, this is why I do what I do. Even if it's hard, even if nothing is going according to plan right now, this is why I'm here. This is what I do. What I do is just to see those relieved smiles on their faces. And if I helped do that to one person, that's enough.
That's it. And I think you can read as many books and papers and research as much as you want, but until you actually see the work being done and the results, then you know that you're doing this all for a reason. And
Yeah.
like one of my clients, who's got like a long-term illness and suffers with chronic pain, she said to me, like, this is, for the last hour, I've just been able to be, and nothing's been hurting, and I've just felt at ease. I haven't had to like hold
That's so
on to any
special.
tension in the body. So it's like when you receive feedback like that, it's a breakthrough for me as well, I
Yeah,
think, as
it's
well
all
as
worth it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
I can give you a few more examples, or
I mean, if you have more examples, yes, because I think it connects very well to the last topic of our conversation, which is how you help and how can people find you and find your services. So I think both are very connected. So yeah,
yeah, I think
tell
so.
us what
And I
you've
think
got.
everyone like has their own, like everyone's on their own journey, faced with different challenges. So there are so many ways that working with sound can really help. Whether it's like physically, one of my clients is on has extremely high blood pressure, and she's been put on medication for that, and she really doesn't want to have to take tablets for the blood pressure. And she was trying everything and anything, and it just wasn't happening. And then after a few sound therapy sessions, she came back and said, this is the first time my blood pressure's been like below a certain level in so many months.
Wow.
So whether it's like a health perspective, or you're looking to like ease anxiety and stress, or just this overall well-being, there definitely is something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So please, yeah, just be open to it and come
Mm-hmm.
and experience it, and you'll I'm sure you will be able to take something
Yeah.
from it, for sure.
I think you said a key word there as well, and something that I try to say when I'm leading like yoga classes for beginners, and I just ask everyone to sort of keep an open heart. And if you do, like, you'll get it.
Yeah.
You'll benefit from it. You'll see the breakthroughs. You will really change your life, and the practice will be very transformational. But keep an open heart. Um, it's so important.
Yeah. And it gives you permission to just like step into your authenticity, and
Mm-hmm.
to not worry about what's happening with anyone else, and you really get an
Mm-hmm.
understanding of that you are completely unique, and you allow yourself to step into that, and using all these tools and techniques that work for you.
Yeah, with no judgments, no expectation, no preconceived idea of what this should look like or how it should work for you. It's when you have no expectations that you'll see, yeah, the change and the healing really happen, I think.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
um
So how can people, yeah, find you and access your services? I know that you have some events coming up, and you're working on a bunch of other things. So do you want us just to tell us a little bit more about how, yeah, can people connect if they want
yeah,
to go to that
absolutely.
sweet spot, and find
So my
that tingling place?
we run I run lots of in-person classes and retreats, based around like Essex, London, and we've just started some abroad retreats as well. So there'll be access to everyone, no matter where you're based. We also work with a lot of corporates in London, and Essex. So if anyone is thinking about kind of expanding their employee wellness package, then that's something that we do offer as part of our services. But you can visit the-wellproject.co.uk. That's my website. If anyone's on Instagram, it's at the_wellproject. And yeah, hopefully also our lovely collaboration. So if you're signed up to Cat's membership, you'll be able to
Yes.
get a little taster of the sound healing. So we've put together a series of lots of lovely stuff for you on there. But yeah,
and the feedback has been absolutely lovely, by the way.
Oh, amazing.
I feel like
so
I may be replaced, but it's okay. I don't mind. It's fine. I get it.
We can have more series together for the future for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I really love just connecting with the community and just having general chats. So if people want to email me with any questions, or they just want some support, or they just want to kind of vent to someone, then I'm also good for that as well. So
amazing. I'll take a note of that as well.
Yeah, give me a follow and a message, and I'm here at your disposal.
That's lovely. Tillie, is there one last message you feel called to share with the collective? You don't you know, it's an open question. I mean, if you don't have anything else and you feel like you've said everything that you wanted to say, that's fine. But if you do feel called about, towards sharing something else, then yeah, here's your space to do so.
I think I want your audience to know that just to be completely authentic. So live a way that feels good for them. Really try to trust in the journey and trust in yourselves as well, and just know that you have everything that you need. So yeah,
That's
not too philosophical, just something off of the top of my head, that like people are perfect the way that they are. They just need to like tap into their authenticity and be themselves without judgment. And just shine out to the world, and you'll be a magnet for beautiful people and beautiful experiences. So yeah, I hope I have given
very timely.
Yeah.
And very, very interesting, because I was journaling last night. I wrote the word authenticity without even thinking about it. So that's interesting.
The universe has some wonderful powers. So trust in the universe, but trust in yourself for sure. You have everything you need.
Because you are the universe and you do have the blueprint. So
exactly.
I think that's a beautiful thing. And I'm glad that I feel at least that we are all on this journey towards being more authentic. Because I think I've seen that push a lot more, and certainly a lot more people leaning into the wellness world and trying to sort of make a career out of it, or just leaning more into their mission. So hopefully we're on the right track, and we can sort of encourage more people to get on board with us. So Tillie, I just wanted to thank you so much for your time. I think this was such a special conversation, and I think that, I mean, your sound healing journeys are a success in my library, so thank you for them too. But it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been a pleasure listening to all these beautiful insights. You also have like a lovely calming voice, so I feel like this will be just an overall lovely episode for people to listen to. And yeah, just thank you for being here, for holding space, for sharing, for opening your heart. And yeah, hopefully to more conversations in the future. As we dive deep into the conversation about success and the definition of success that almost sort of like replaced the entire conversation about sound healing today. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. It's funny that you mentioned about the voice, because that used to be something that held me back, and now I've stepped into that authenticity, and I get so many comments about my voice, and it's something that I really didn't used to like about myself. So it's just that change of perspective that everyone can do. But thank you. I'll come back on and we can dive a little deeper into kind of mindsets and that whole chat about success.
Yes.
It would be
I
nice
feel like we
to.
have a lot to share about that as well. Now I'm excited.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been
Thank you,
wonderful
Tillie.
to chat to you. Bye.
Bye. A big, big thank you to Tillie for all her brilliant insights and shared experiences. I hope that you enjoyed it as well. Thank you for tuning in. As always, if you'd like to know more about Tillie's personal project, the Well Project, and her events that she is currently organizing, the retreats, the workshops that she's got going on in London and in Essex, I will leave all her details below, so just check the description in the episode. I'll leave links for Instagram and the website so you guys can connect as well. And if you'd like to access my membership, become a member of my Yoga Full studio, then I would love to have you. This membership includes live classes with me online Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesdays it's in the evening, 6:30 p.m. UK time, and then Fridays is at 8:30 a.m. in the morning. I'd love to have you. We have also this on-demand library with other classes that I run. These are really varied. They are usually centered around the theme. So we have classes for the chakra, we have classes to relieve stress, we have classes to focus more on physical recovery. So there's like a whole breadth of things that you can do. I've also got guided meditations, guided relaxations there on the library, and now very, very exciting, we do have sound healing journeys provided by Tillie. So if you'd like to join us, I will leave the links below as well. Feel free to explore the website, the membership a little bit. The membership costs £22, so that's actually less than 85p per day for you to sign up and have access to a lot of wellness content to support your well-being in a way that, you know, it's holistic. That's really important to me. I don't want to just help you relieve stress and keep fit. I want to be an active part and support of your healing process. So everything that I offer is very much centered around us as human beings, in the sense that we are not only talking about the body, we're not only talking about the mind, we're talking about us as human beings who have multiple dimensions, and so everything that you see has very much that holistic lens to support not just your body, but also your mind, your energy, your spirit, to understanding you as an entire person, you know. So I'll leave the links as well below. As always, please let me know what you thought about this episode, whether you enjoyed it, any comments, any feedback that you have. I would love to listen to those, to just to make sure that I do these episodes in a way that they are a lot more relevant and interesting to you. So thank you again for your continued support. I really, really appreciate it. If you enjoy these conversations, please share this podcast with others. It really helps this podcast grow and get to more people who also may be needing to hear these conversations, these messages. Leave a review as well if you can. That also is super, super helpful. And yeah, I think that's it today. Next podcast, we are going to be talking about Ayurveda, I believe, and I'm saying because I may have changed the sequence of the podcast episodes, but we do have an upcoming episode on Ayurveda, which is the science of life, another conversation that I'm super looking forward to, and it's going to be about Ayurveda and how herbs, spices can really help you support your lifestyle and help you live a better life. So look forward to that as well. In the meantime, thank you so much again for listening. I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation today. Do tune in, do learn more about the Well Project and Tillie. And if you want, sign up, become a member, join our family at the Yoga Full Studio. connect with me on Instagram or on other social media platforms. I'm also on Threads and TikTok. And yeah, thank you for being here. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day whenever you're listening to this. Thank you for coming back, for tuning in. Lots of love. Bye.